Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.lessonfrederick.com. It is a beautiful Monday evening. It is Memorial Day, and so to celebrate this beautiful Memorial Day, we thought we'd bring in the Colonel, none other than himself. Thank you for joining us again, Colonel. How are you doing?
Doing good, guys. How are you today? Happy Memorial Day.
Yes, sir. We're trying to be. It's been a little bit rainy here, Colonel, in the DMV, but we don't let the rain get over our sunshine.
It's because God's crying.
Yes, exactly. But, Colonel, I have to ask you, because last week was OTAs. We're coming up to the second week of OTAs here. So for you as a fan watching this football team, what was the biggest takeaway for you coming from this first week of OTAs?
Biggest takeaway was all the talk about Emmanuel Forbes. The fact that he just stepped up immediately, that was encouraging as hell, because I think I kind of railed against that when I many episodes ago said to you guys, are we really considering a 165-pound NFL player, regardless of position? And so kind of a pleasant surprise, followed by Sam, of course. He's done well.
Yeah. So what are your takes on Sam Howell? How much eggs are you putting in this basket? Are you very confident in Sam, or do you think that there's going to be a point where Jacoby comes in? How do you think this is going to shake out?
Well, if I could walk away studio right here and go pick up a magazine from 2 years ago, the number one projected pick, guess who it was for not this past year, but the year before that? Sam Howell was projected to be the number one selected quarterback in the draft. So for me, everything that Ron's been saying about that, the fact that he did lose like 4 of his offensive weapons at North Carolina, and then he had to rely on his feet. I'm pretty optimistic, especially after the last game against the Cowboys last year. They had everything to play for. They were still playing for what was it? Was it home field advantage?
Yeah, and they blitzed the entire game. A lot of people have said that with Sam Howell that he was able to, just sit back and prevent, be able to dink and dunk. They were coming after him. They were sending a lot of blitzes. They were not going by as like this was an easy game. They were trying for it.
So they were trying to win a game that would position them well in the playoffs, and Sam Howell beat them. And let's not forget also that we had that late round draft lineman in there as well, who also stood his ground pretty well against some of their pass rush.
And Chris Paul.
Chris Paul, that's it. Thank you. So I am optimistic about Howell. I really am. I mean, I think that the Brissett pickup was awesome, because the guy, if Howell does get hurt, or if he does have a weak moment, a lag for a couple of weeks, I think Brissett showed in Cleveland that he's more than capable enough to pick up the slack there. So I'm happy with the OTAs so far. We didn't hear much about the running backs. We didn't hear much about the linebackers, obviously. I do want to talk to you guys a little about the line if we have a chance, because especially I'm a little disappointed in names like Sadiq Charles, things like that. But from the OTAs, yeah, I'm going to say that it was definitely Emmanuel Forbes and Sam Howell.
Right. And speaking of that offensive line and just the offense as a whole, what do you think about Eric Bieniemy being hired as the offensive coordinator? Do you think that's going to be enough? Just the addition of him, do you think that's going to be enough to turn the offense in the right direction and make them a good offense this season?
I was skeptical of that, just like you guys were, with everybody saying that Bieniemy was just kind of back there, and it was Andy Reid that was calling all the shots. We're going to find out now. And from everything that I've heard, Bieniemy is like, there's no slack. I mean, he is in your face. It's attention to detail. to every single player that comes up and runs a route, or a running back that goes and does his block or whatever he's supposed to do, the enemy's got a pretty intense reputation. I'm looking forward to it. This is something we haven't had. We've been kind of laissez-faire under Jay Gruden, and then a little bit less under Scott Turner, but still we haven't had the taskmasters. I think that Ron would have been more that way, but I think that he's still, let's face it, the poor man's still recovering from cancer treatment and taking his team through 2 seasons of COVID. So, he's been behind the 8 ball ever since he took over, to be honest with you.
You're right, Colonel. And I'm one of those people, I'll go public with being able to say that when you are correct. This next question I have for you, Chase Young, obviously not it being at OTAs, them being voluntary, but guys like Cameron Curl were up for a contract, and I want to bring this back to a military means because, obviously there's people that get promotions, that get higher ranks based on their performance. Who are some guys on offense and defense for this team that if you were overseeing it, these were soldiers under you, who would be getting a promotion in rank under you?
I think that the leadership at the organization has done a really, really superior job of recognizing their captains. And I think that John Allen, by far, is the defensive captain of that team, with Cameron Curl probably being his junior captain behind him. There's other guys, that they demonstrate by their performance, but they're less vocal. And in a leadership situation like that, you need to have vocal guys. Sean Taylor was a quiet guy. He led by example. Okay. Quiet. Sorry about that. So definitely on defense, it's John Allen and Cameron Curl. And I hate to be obvious again about this, but on offense, who has shown better, through his performance and keeping his mouth shut and saying the right thing than Terry McLaurin? Those are our 2 captains right there. That's the face of our team. I think John Allen and Terry McLaurin, a couple of other guys in there too they're junior, they're coming up, but those are, I think, the 2 that I see as our leaders right now.
Right. And you said you wanted to touch on the O-line a little bit. What is your biggest weakness on the O-line right now? They tried to do some stuff. They tried to bring in Andrew Wiley, kick Cosme inside, sign a center. What do you think the biggest weakness is right now?
Don't you guys think that it's left guard?
Gotta be, right?
But we've had all of these experiments. Sadiq Charles, remember, he was the one that took care of Joe Burrow. Okay, he was supposed to
be left tackle, right?
Yeah. I think I might have heard his name once or twice last year. We also drafted a guy pretty early, maybe 3rd or 4th round, named Ishmael, just within the past 3 years. He didn't pan out. He's gone. So
the 49ers picked him up off of our practice squad, and they did it last season right before the Lions game when Chase Roulier got injured.
Al Shanahan plays checkers, not chess.
It's not fair.
Not checkers.
Okay, so we did the same thing to the Cowboys.
Yeah, right.
So I got it. But I just think that's where we've really been stacking our defense. And then we waited until the 4th round until we went and got Braden or whatever his name is.
Braden Daniels.
Okay. Look, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid because, like I said, we're going to really take a 165-pound cornerback in the 1st round at number 16. Seriously? Instead of Christian Gonzalez. But now everything that I've been reading since then, performance-wise and everything, there's 2 teams that said that they would have taken Forbes in the 1st round. I think one of them was the Cowboys and one was the Vikings. I just read that today, right before this, that both of them would have taken him in the 1st round.
Panthers had him rated really high too.
So I'm excited. I don't know about you guys. The only big question mark that's got us in the first 7 or 9 picks in the 2024 fantasy draft is Sam Howell. And if he performs the way that the previous year prognosticators thought where he would get picked in the first round, not just the first round, but the first pick in the first round. So I think that we might really have finally gotten lucky. It's been 30 years. Okay. I was younger than three of you guys. I see four of us now because I got the Hollywood squares on here.
I was about to say, is my ghost showing up again?
No, I was younger than all three of you when the Redskins beat the Bills back in '92, and I was a young captain, and it was like and it was normal for us to be in not just the playoffs, but it was our third Super Bowl in 9 years.
Yep.
Wait, no, we lost a couple, so it was our fifth Super Bowl in 9 years.
Damn, that every other year you're going to a Super Bowl.
It was. I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't a New England dynasty, but it was pretty exciting in the DC area, and everything that you guys talk about when you talk about RFK Stadium and the way that the place used to shake and the way that people that were black, white, yellow, whatever, going up and hugging and just embracing each other, and about the Redskins, that brought the city together back then. Nothing like, I mean, the Nationals championship and the Washington Capitals championship, they were absolutely nothing like the Redskins Super Bowls. Trust me, it not even that much of it. It brought not just the city, but the entire region together. There was a 30-year waiting list for Redskins season tickets. A 30-year waiting list that by the time I made major, I was like, okay, I'm finally number 4,700, whatever it was. And then by the time I made lieutenant colonel, I took my name off the waiting list. And by the time I, made my retirement rank, I was like, okay, wow. I don't think I'm even going to show up to games anymore. You remember the Oilers or the Saints wearing the garbage bag that said Aints and all that kind of stuff. And you guys telling me that we don't have home games anymore because you see all the Eagles jerseys and Steelers, all that bullshit. So yes,
you did go to a game. You're fine.
No,
you did go to a
it.
game with me, and you did sat next to Hall for a game, didn't you? It was a preseason game. It was the Colts versus Redskins with RG3. Wait, no, was that
Andrew Luck?
It was like Patriots, I think. Patriots versus Redskins.
Oh, yeah, it was Patriots.
It was Patriots, yeah. And then the Eagles game was good too. We watched Jalen Hurts help up some of the fans that had.
Oh, that's when it broke.
Yeah.
They fell out.
Nobody got Hurts. You know what I'm saying?
The starting quarterback of the opposing team is helping pick up some of our fans that have collapsed down into his tunnel.
Right.
That was a little embarrassing.
Doesn't it suck? I feel like I can't hate him or Dak because off the field they're actually good dudes.
Yeah, they really
Daniel
are.
Jones is dumb.
And
I hate
I'll never
him.
forget that there was a row of Eagles fans behind us, Colonel. I didn't sit down the whole game, and dude was pissed. I'm sorry, man, but if you're gonna come watch a game at FedEx Field, that's what you're gonna that's what's gonna happen to you. But Colonel, I have a couple more questions for you to wrap this up. One of the last ones I have for you. Let's talk about those DBs because, Emmanuel Forbes, that name has kind of grown on you. Then they also drafted Quan Martin in the second round, but Kendall Fuller is still there as well as Benjamin St-Juste. Who do you think the starting corners should be week 1?
It's a little early for that, but I'll say that I do think that Fuller is the odd man out. But I don't think that they should cut him. I mean, we're already seeing what's happening now with injuries at tight end. And so remember what we did a few years ago with Adrian Peterson. We cut his ass, and then the next thing we know, Darius Geis gets hurt or gets charged with that assault charge. Or
beat up an old woman.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then suddenly we were sucking wind at running back. So how about let's pump the brakes on getting rid of Kendall quite yet, because if he's not going to be the starter, then he sure as hell is going to be an adequate, backup.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, let's not get rid of Kendall. We need him back there. We're way too young. Percy Butler, Defoe. We're very, very St. Just. We're talking about second-year players back here, basically first and second-year players. We need to have a Super Bowl winner that's been around the league back there mentoring our guys. That's my opinion.
Agreed.
Wouldn't it be perfect if Kendall was still like second year Kendall Fuller, best slot winner in the NFL?
That would be
you can just
silly.
put
But
Forbes
we
and
don't
Benjamin
live in a
St. Just
perfect
on the
world,
inside.
Reed. We don't live
Yeah,
in a
well,
perfect
you
world.
don't. I do, actually, though.
You do. Yeah, that is true. But Colonel, last question I have for you. It is Memorial Day. And one of the questions that was submitted to us was basically how do you announce, like, to say Happy Memorial Day, to be respectful, not just to everybody, but saying it in the correct way. So just real quick before you get out of here, how would you say Happy Memorial Day?
Great question. And for any veteran that you go up to and say Happy Memorial Day, and they say something like, it's not a day of happiness, it's a day of remembrance, and they act like that, you can be pretty sure that they sat on a fob somewhere, forward operating. They got 3 hot meals a day. Okay. They had CNN, they had Fox News, and they watched all the Zoolanders and Fast Times at Ridgemont and all of it. Okay.
Holy.
Any real vet, anybody that actually saw the elephant and, actually saw shots fired in anger and stuff, it doesn't matter if it's Memorial Day, if it's Veterans Day, if it's the 4th of July, when people come up and say thank you to a real vet, then you're going to know you're talking to a real vet. Okay. One thing that one lady did to me that I'll never forget, I was in uniform because we had to be in uniform transiting airports back then. And I can't remember where I was coming home from, but I was in fatigues and I walked past one lady and, there were people coming up to me, shaking hands and hugging, all that. And that's great. But I mean, if you got a flight to catch, then you need to kind of tell them, hey man, I got to go. She just went like this. Let me stand up. She walked past me and she went like this and gave me a little nod and a little smile. And I knew exactly what she meant. And I nodded back at her and that was perfectly fine. And then I noticed over the course of the next 10 years or so, coming home from different deployments, I saw other people doing that as well. So, I mean, if you have a problem going up and saying something to a vet or anything, then okay, then don't say Happy Memorial Day. Say, hey man, thanks for what you did. Thanks to your buddies, your colleagues that didn't make it home. If they're that sensitive about it, then they got an issue. But seriously, I mean, we're just like you. We
Usually
come back.
Happy Memorial Day is okay.
Hey, absolutely. And you know what? The more they're isolated and treated like this, the more they think there's something wrong with them. So give them a beer and say, hey, fucker, how you feeling? You know what I mean? I just dropped this on the floor and spilled it, But, they're bring them make them feel like part of the group and include them, bring their personality back out, if you've got any buds like that.
I got you.
That's my advice. But yeah, I don't care what any of them, and believe me, I've got enough deployments that I could say this, okay? Happy Memorial Day is just fine. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you, Colonel. You guys heard it here. The Colonel let us know Happy Memorial Day is acceptable. Colonel, I can't thank you enough for being such a great person to this podcast, submitting questions every episode, watching every episode, sometimes multiple times, and giving us feedback. We love you, man. We can't thank you enough. And obviously, today being a special one, we wanted to thank you and just wanted to show our appreciation for you for everything you do, sir.
Definitely.
Look, I thank you, and I love you guys too. And you've got your work cut out for you here now for the next couple months. You know that, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna start pushing so many
Worst
fake
time
stories.
of year.
Yeah, but don't worry. We got story time. Story time starts on Thursday, Colonel.
Oh no! Yes,
it's gonna be fun. Colonel, can't thank you enough, sir. Until next time, we appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate it, Colonel.
Yeah.
Have a good night, man.
Evening.
Thank you,
Take
sir.
care.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. the Colonel. Huge
He's the
famous on
best.
our show.
He's the best.
Yeah.
He's the greatest of all time.
One of the best times ever going to the game. I've been to multiple games. One of my best times, and it was a preseason game. Was going with him, like you, Katie, Dave Burke, and all them, and sitting with Dave Burke and him and his girlfriend at the time.
Bro,
Man,
I would be invincible if the Colonel was with me. I would talk so
Such a
much
good
shit to
time.
people. I'd be like, "What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?" And I'd move Colonel in the way, and he'd just be like, "Don't."
And first and foremost, we cannot go any further without acknowledging the elephant in the room and being that Reed actually has a setup now. And not only is his setup beautiful in his background, he has the Nat Stadium there. Obviously, he's got the national symbol. But you'll also notice in the top left corner of his screen, he has the Redskins symbol in like kind of a wood pan. Reed,
you said a bad
Yeah,
word.
don't say that, dude.
what? Oh, my bad.
Redskins.
Reed, if you can explain, because I
I
was
meant
very
Nationals.
surprised by the origin of where you got that.
This bad boy right here.
Yeah.
Old dad made that senior year, 12th grade woodshop class. I was thrown out of class every other day. But Mr. Mary, shout out Mr. Mary, the dude gets it, would always be like, see this? Mike Reed made this. What are you losers doing? That's slack off. Made this guy.
I'm telling you,
What are you
Reed,
guys
that is really well done. And I was
Yeah, thank
surprised
you.
that you made it. I thought it was a bit. I'm
no,
surprised
yeah,
you even
yeah,
made
I
it
mean-
right a circle, you know?
Yeah, no,
I was
that
waiting for him to be like, "Nah, I just bought it. I'm just joking."
No, yeah. I'm allowed to do like one cool thing, I think, like in my life, pretty much. One thing that requires hard work. That was it. I'm done now. I can retire. I'm good.
And now we are joined by our next guest. You guys will know him on Twitter as HurQlez. How are you doing, Daniel?
It's an honor to finally meet all of you guys face to
man.
face.
Yes,
Wow.
sir. Look, man, you told us that you wanted to come on here, and you've asked questions to this pod before, and I wanted to bring it back on you. You know, I want to recycle this question because this is right up your alley, and I want to kind of know what you think about it because you had asked Hall before. Of the three options, which one would you choose? The first option being is keeping the rebrand the way that it is. The second was expanding on the rebrand, and the third was a total just redo of the brand. So I want to ask that question to you, sir. What would you be choosing?
Well, I think the best option is B because for this reason. We are kind of like split between two types of fans when it comes to the brand. There's keepers and there's changers. Now, you think keepers be like they're already winning because we're keeping the name. They pushed it back. They're not going to push it back and wait to see. They're going to change it. And this trademark dispute is not something that they're going to have a problem with. It's all going to be done and be committed to as for us to be the Commanders for a long time. But that doesn't mean the changers don't have any merit because the name Commanders is boring. It's just a boring name. It's so generic. It's like it's not exactly igniting a lot of excitement from a lot of fans. And that's really what the changers are trying to really ignite here, to try to get something to try and give a symbol of something that really gives an intimidation that they really wanted. So what I'm saying is that there is a way to do it. What we would first do, everything that we've got so far doesn't change. It remains intact because, the legacy fans, they did what they had to do because they didn't want their past, the traditions of the past to go away. They want people to forget that we were a team before Commanders. So all that stuff remain intact. But the best thing about Commanders, it's generic enough to have more than one identity.
Right.
You can have that identity for the people of the past that really want to maintain hail to the command, hail hashtag, the fight song, the marching band. And yes, Major Tuddy counts as part of that legacy to remind people of the Hogs of the 80s and 90s.
Right.
Now, with that taken care of, none of that would change. So remember, that's not going to be replaced. For the other identity, it's really something that the changers really can get behind. And you think, how do you do that? Well, obviously, it can't just be a random symbol. It has to be something that really fits with the team, the theme of the brand, and if they can, the area. Well, let's look back at the biggest name that people have been clamoring for, Red Wolves. Now, people will say, well, they just wanted it because it just had red in the title. Well, not really. It also was an intimidating animal. It was something that people said, "Oh yeah, you see this wolf, you're coming for you with this kind of wolf," because that's like it's always that symbol that really gets behind.
I'm sorry. I feel like if they did that, though, they would have just been like, let's just name them the Wolves, Washington Wolves. I feel like the Red Wolves is just like, it was an easy connection almost. And I do like, they could have done a lot with that, though. So I do think it could have been really cool.
Well, it would have been a nice play on words as well, because the Washington Wolves. I mean, that was one of the reasons why I was a big advocate for the Washington Warriors, just because you could keep the kind of everything that you've built up here and now kind of move it under that military scheme, and also paying homage to the Warriors that were here before, defending their own homeland. And I thought that would fit in as well. But obviously, the Red Wolves was tricky because I think the HTTR was the real big driver behind the Red Wolves originally. Was the big one.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to kill you.
Oh, no. I get it. I mean, I understand the Warriors thing also, because you got to blame Dan Snyder for that one, because he didn't even bother maintaining that trademark. If he was smart, if he was actually humble, we would have changed the name to Warriors a long time ago.
Right.
Long before the Golden State Warriors got big.
Right.
And think about that. If we were still the Warriors before Golden State, nobody would really have a problem. No. And then we could easily transition that way. But because Snyder has screwed us permanently for that kind of thing, we got to try and look inward with what we've got. That's pretty much what we're trying to do. We're trying to build on something with what we've got. And we've got the name Commanders. Now, what is Commanders? Well, we've all said that Commanders is a symbol of authority, which obviously we usually use it for the military. Now, what intimidating animal is there? An intimidating animal that is works with people of authority, like in the military?
A politician? Dirty rats.
No, those are still pigs.
Okay, yeah, technically.
Dolphins.
No, service dogs.
Dolphins do rape. Yeah, service
AKA
dogs.
the canine unit.
Yeah,
because those dogs, they're used for things like, not just for active stuff like guarding, sniffing for contrabands, or attacking. They're also used for therapy, and they're also used for service of veterans, just like the partnership Washington is doing with Canines for Warriors. I mean, who remembers Mando? Mando was a cool dog. It was great having that. Yeah. So I feel like that's actually an easy way to maneuver a second identity for the Washington Commanders. And now, obviously, they usually have to use a specific breed. I personally chose a German Shepherd for 3 big reasons. Number one, it is the number one breed used not just in the military, but also in the government departments, like the departments in DC. Number two, if you look at all the dog mascots that are in sports in America, you see like bulldogs, greyhounds, Labradors, hounds, even terriers. None of them use a German Shepherd, which makes our canine more unique and recognizable. You would see a German Shepherd, you automatically think Washington. And third, this may be a little edgy, but I think this really helps. Around the time Washington chose the name Commanders, our commander-in-chief, who has several German Shepherds, introduced a new German Shepherd named Commander. I know you feel like it's a little bit edgy, a little fringy about thinking about politicians when doing this kind of thing.
That's the right way to think about it, because what does DC represent? They represent the president, right? And the commander-in-chief and his dog being German Shepherd, being his name being Commander, that was a huge indicator in itself. I always do laugh, HurQlez, when people say, what is the connotation between Commanders and DC? It's like, if I have to explain that to you, like, I don't want to have this conversation. It also does have a biblical meaning as well. You have the 10 Commandments as well.
Well, yeah, the religious fans would definitely want to have that.
There we go.
And they could probably do that if we put the symbols on some tablets, I guess. But that's a different thing.
Rule number 1: don't lose at home.
That's every home game, man. And that's what I've been trying to do, ever since, the name change. Instead of me trying to wallow in grief and just really complaining that it should have been this name or even complaining that it should have been this mascot and not Major Tuddy. I'm a guy who's willing to adapt and willing to really expand on the brand. That's pretty much what I try to do, is expand this brand. And we would not be the first team to have two separate identities or two separate mascots. If you look at the Browns and the Saints, they also have two mascots. One for more of the legacy kind of mascot, and one a dog identity as well. The Saints, they got Gumbo, the Saint Bernard. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah.
And look at the Cleveland right now. They're still promoting the dog pound and the new dog logo by the fan input. But they're still promoting Brownie the Elf. You see that last year they did a 50-yard line
that's right.
design of Brownie the Elf at their field. So
I thought it was Kyle because Kyle's so short.
What?
I was like 5.
He thought it was
like
me because I'm
5
so short. He likes to say I'm short.
He's not. He's like 6 foot. I just think it's funny.
But you see, that's the kind of thing. They're both respecting their history, but they also have an identity that sparks intimidation. I mean, if you think about it, it's something that a lot of teams already did to counter their kind of a generic name. Look, for example, like the LA Chargers when they first started in LA in 1961. The owner picked the name because it reminded him of the USC Trojans' rallying cry of the cheer. Da-da-da-da-da, charge.
Yeah.
Now, if they just did Chargers and just the letter LA, kind of like we have with Washington Commanders, it wouldn't be that exciting.
No, it'd be like a phone charger or something.
Right. I mean, but the point is that now then they put in the symbolism of a horse. First, a horse because the knight's horse is called a charger, and they also put in a lightning bolt to give some other connection to the name. And the lightning bolt stuck. I mean, nobody thinks of it as a charger. It's still a lightning bolt. The fans say bolt up. They don't say charged up.
Yeah, charge up. Yeah, it's a Drake song. Charged up.
I mean, so I feel like that the brand expansion is the best thing about it is that it's not a time sensitive idea. It's a grassroots campaign that I think is willing to grow throughout the years to get more people connected with the idea that, hey, we're not just showing off our legacy of who we were before we were Commanders. We're also showing off an intimidating identity as Commanders, more than just using a generic name. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I got you.
Service dog with military tags on it. I just feel like that's a good way to do it. Just think like District Canines, DC, Canine Command, using the font here like I did here. I think it's like I think there's definitely potential for everybody to get behind this kind of thing of, sure, Cleveland and Georgia Bulldogs, they're showing off a pet. We show off professionals.
Yeah, that's a good selling point right there, Herc. I do like that a lot.
Yeah, I like that too. I feel like if they don't expand on this, like over like the next few years, I'm gonna be pissed off.
And the first thing we have to understand, this is brand new. This is a fresh baby. When the Ravens first came out, it did take them a couple years to kind of work through things. So to Herc's point, being a grassroots campaign, he's in the right time to do it because they are still morphing, and there's nothing but time. We can all complain about the trademark issue, whatever. It's staying. We just got to morph over time into what we believe, into what this name truly represents, and that's why we have people like Herc on to be able to explain to us what he thinks. It's a really good idea.
Yeah, and shout out to you too for not being like, you know what? Change the name, start over. We're going over. You're like, all right, this is what it is right now. We're gonna deal with it and build off it and expand. That's a logical take. That's a good take to have on it.
Yeah, and for anybody who complains that. I guess the reason why not a lot of people are getting behind it already is also because I guess they still have brand fatigue, rebranding fatigue. Yeah, they're saying let's just move on and stuff. But I think the problem is that if we don't do something about this, at least start some recognition about brand expansion, then people will get more tiresome about the name itself. I mean, I just feel like there's always like trying something to work with. I mean, look at Defenders, man. I mean, the name itself boring, but the beer snake really brings their identity forward as much as team performance.
It absolutely does.
Yeah. I mean,
you're absolutely right.
I mean, look. I mean, I've always I don't have to explain why I'm a fan who's more focused on the brand than on team performance. It's because, you know, with players and coaches, they all like come and go. But for you, I've seen them for like since 19. I've been watching the team since 1990, and I see all these players like either like come and they get injured or something, and then they get traded and stuff. You know, there's always like this this temporary praise for these people, but the brand itself is permanent. And with the brand, you really have to try and make something out of it, or you're really going to hate it for the rest of your life. I mean, they did what they could. They tried what they could with Wizards, you know, bringing back the red, white, and blue colors. But
yeah, we know how that is here in Washington. I'm sure Browns fans are still kicking themselves over their rebrand. But HurQlez, I can't thank you enough for joining us here tonight, brother. I know you wanted to come out and talk, and you didn't think that we would be open to it, but dude, I really appreciated your sentiment, your
great
viewpoint.
points. Great points.
Fantastic points, to be perfectly honest with you. I can't thank you enough for joining us, brother, and I want to get you back on again here sometime soon, maybe before the season, to talk about maybe once the once the ownership situation changes and everything like that. Herc, I can't thank you enough, brother.
Oh, great. Hey, by the way, you can actually check out my pinned tweet if you want to check all the designs that I have on my storefront at tpublic.com. Just go to my Twitter account, go to my pinned tweet. You'll see the link, and you'll see all the designs that I made for this idea, including like the design I made back there.
Awesome.
Nice.
All right, and you can find him at HurQlez, HurQlez on Twitter, HurQlez. Herc, I can't thank you enough, brother. Have a good night.
You too.
Appreciate it, man.
Brother. All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. HurQlez. I've seen his name so many times, like around. I've never actually, talked to him, but it was actually good to hear his thoughts. Because
I mean, like I said, honestly, I don't even really remember. I feel like I did make like a douchey dick like response back to his question. I do remember that part of it, but I don't really remember exactly what I said. But
you didn't. I was just kidding, man.
No, I do remember I made like a joke out of like what his answer was, or his question was, but actually like listening to him explain it and like his ideas, I'm like, that is some pretty good points and some great points. Especially his part about like the people that are more worried about the brand than the actual like performance, because he's right. Coaches and players they come and go.
It is true.
What you see on the jerseys and what you buy in the stores and the logos, those are pretty much forever. So, I mean, he does, like I said, he made some good points.
Yep, and now we are joined by our next guest, Mr. Steve Lim, to celebrate this beautiful Memorial Day from the 10th Mountain Division. How you doing, brother? My grandpa was in the 10th Mountain Division.
Yeah, climb the glory, man. Salute to him. That's awesome.
Dude, how you doing, Steve?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. It's good Monday. Good time to be alive.
Did you grill this weekend?
Yeah, we had family over yesterday for my mother-in-law's birthday, so we just kind of rolled it all into yesterday. A little bit of rain. Today was kind of crappy. Tried to go to the pool, but didn't quite work out. So
yeah, dude,
had it yesterday.
The rain was just terrible today. Like we wanted to go on walks and everything. It just wasn't being nice to us today, which is unfortunate, Steve. But let's get into our fan questions, boys, to wrap up this episode. And this one is from the Colonel, who we just had on at first guest. Mm-hmm. His question is, I know this is a beating dead horse, Steve, but please comment on our tight end situation and your comfort level. Does the acquisition of former XFLer and Minnesota Viking Brandon Dillon have any impact on our tight end room, or is he just a camp body?
Well, I can't speak too much about the XFL acquisition because I don't know him. I don't watch him play. I love Logan Thomas. He's my favorite player on the team. That being said, I was a little upset they didn't draft a tight end between the second and fourth, personally. So I'm losing a little bit of confidence in the tight end, but that being said, Cole Turner was my favorite draft pick last year. And if somehow between Logan, Bates, and Cole Turner, we got what we got. So I would love to see Cole Turner find a way to show how he can be a shifty wide receiver in a tight end's body and just make it work. So I'm not upset about it, but my eyebrows are raised. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and just to not make this awkward at all, but we all wore black today for some reason. I'm not sure if it's because Memorial Day. I don't know, but I guess we just all felt like doing it.
It's a good color.
Oh, this was the Blackout podcast.
It
There you
was.
go.
I am very. I'm going to say I'm confident in our tight ends, just purely based on the fact that they were not used correctly last season, and they weren't used correctly not just because solely Scott Turner didn't know how to employ them. I think that he had to use them in blocking because the offensive line was beat up and they needed extra bodies. With that being said, them coming off of injury, us having Cole Turner like Steve talked about, because when Cole Turner came out of college, he wasn't a run blocker. He was a jump ball, red zone threat, touchdown receiver. Last season, he was really good as a blocker. They even used him as lead blocker on some runs. And so that growth in 1 year, seeing that from Cole Turner, knowing what he did at college, having that raw athleticism and that height being at 6'6", 6'7", I think automatically that makes you feel good about it because he's behind John Bates and your boy Logan Thomas, Steve. So that it makes me happy that there is a healthy tight end room, but my big concern is the rash of injuries to the tight ends. Like we saw last season with Armani Rogers already gone, that tight end room is dwindling a little bit, and we don't want that big injury concern rearing its ugly head. So that injury is the only thing that really concerns me, but with the actual tight end room, I'm fairly confident that EB will use these guys correctly and how they're supposed to be used. I'm just kind of gauging on how big of a step this offense is going to take. I think that is the biggest question that nobody obviously can answer because it's way too early for it. But I think the big things are coming for this offense. What about you, Hall?
Yeah. Like you said, I think losing Amani Rogers definitely makes you kind of question and lose some of that that intrigue that you have in the room because if Logan Thomas can get back to 80% of what he was before the injury in 2020, then I think you have a pretty solid run. But a guy like Armani Rogers with his athleticism makes you go okay, all right, we might have something here. Then you add in a guy like Cole Turner, who can be a great weapon in the red zone. He has huge size. Pause. But yeah, I think that at the end of the day, I think that, like you said, I think that if Logan Thomas can get back to somewhat of his 2020 form, and I have more faith that Eric Bieniemy is going to be able to scheme the guys open and get a little bit more creative with the tight ends and the passing concept and some of the routes that they're running to make them more of a productive room and to get the best out of what he can get out of that room. And at the end of the day, if they're more productive on third downs, moving the chains, and more productive in the red zone, no matter what the stats are, the numbers are, if we can get better production from the tight ends in those two categories, I think it's an overall success.
Overall success. And you're right. And now let's go to our questions in our Discord chat server. Steve, this is from Big Tony Shivers. This is a fun question. What is your favorite NFL video game of all time?
Ooh, man. Favorite NFL video game of all time. That's a toss-up between the first Madden, the one that used to have the ambulance run over the players. I would have to say NFL Blitz. I'm gonna go with Tecmo Super Bowl was my favorite game. I think it was Super Nintendo. That was my favorite one.
For me, I think it's NFL. I think it was 2K. I think it was like 2K3, 2K4. Whenever that heyday was out, when they actually showed the zone coverages and everything, I remember playing down the first time on the PS2. My stepbrother was playing. I was like, what is this? I've played Madden before, but this looks different. It looks clean. Then the first-person mode that they brought into later on, I mean, it was just absolutely amazing. Me, 2K.
Yeah, they revolutionized it.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
And too bad Madden just had to monopolize everything, buy them all out, and then just create a subpar, shitty product. But whatever.
Yeah. I mean, Madden, 2K, I love all those games. Played hundreds of thousands of times probably. Yeah. But my favorite game was always like the blitzes and the NFL Street. So
NFL Street, bro. With Ricky Williams.
NFL Street. NFL Street was my game back in the day, dog. You don't even know how many hours me and my brothers logged just playing, just me whooping their ass back to back to back to back to back. Yeah. So that was just my game right there.
Your brothers are like 6 years younger than you, Hall. That's just ridiculous mean.
The youngest two are, yeah. So, I mean, we're all spaced out pretty evenly.
They're twins, so he beats up on them. Now, let's go to our next question, and this is from Andy Lockhart in the Discord. Thank you, Andy, in the UK. Oi, Steve, do all the Burgundy Zone guys play golf? If so, what do you each play off of? And what that means is, what is your handicap? What do you usually shoot? So, Steve, not sure if you're a golfer.
Yes, I'm a golfer.
My man, what do you shoot?
Yeah, I haven't played in a long time because I had reconstructive shoulder surgery. But when I was playing consistently, I was shooting around mid 90s.
Okay, so you're like a 25, like a 25 handicap.
Nothing crazy to write home about.
Yeah, it's really funny because somebody had said to me, like, oh, I'm really nervous about going to play today because I'm really bad at golf. And it's like, look, man, if anybody's good at golf, they're getting paid for it. So if anyone's giving you crap about being shitty
or they're
out there,
retired.
right? That's a good point. It's a very good point. For me, I shoot. I would say if I'm gonna, honestly, I'm humble. I'm gonna say I'm probably around a 15 handicap, right around there. I haven't played yet this year. Going to go on vacation a couple weeks at Deep Creek. Hopefully, going to play 18 when I'm out there, and I'll let you know what my score is that day, Andy.
Oops, my thing where James knocked all my shit off of the
desk he did.
Mid freak out. No,
he did. You don't play golf.
What? No. Yeah. What is my handicap?
Oh no.
Down syndrome.
I knew he was about to make that joke.
I know. Dude, as soon as that came up and I had to say what it was, I knew that.
As soon as I saw it, as I was going to text it in the Discord, but I was like, let me save this golden nugget joke for the podcast.
And just let anybody know, he's not making fun of DS.
No, my brother has Down syndrome.
Yes, so we had to put that in there as to why he makes the jokes. It's not he doesn't bully his brother,
but also I'm
his
part
brother
Downs.
bullies him.
Yeah, I'm the boss, king of DS.
Paul?
I don't know like the exact handicap, but
it's over 20.
I'm trying to get more consistent playing, but let's just say I'm trying to get under 100 at this point.
Andy, what I need you to do is I need you to tell Hall to actually listen to me when I'm giving him golf tips. Okay?
Man, I listen more. It was
Kyle's like Chris D'Elia.
I ain't even been with you in like forever.
No,
Kyle
reword
gets
that.
17 and under.
Reword
Kyle
that.
gets
that
17 and under like Chris D'Elia.
That was weird.
I haven't
played golf with you in forever.
That's weird.
I know that was weird. I haven't played golf with you in forever.
All right, there you go. That's better. Now let's go to our next question from Tim Towner. Steve, his question is: do you consider yourself to be a glass half full person or a glass half empty person? Then respond to the headline: Commanders quarterback Sam Howell an almost total gamble. What?
I'm definitely a half full person. It's just my mentality, how I approach life, and with that approach to that headline, it is a gamble, but because we have so many pieces in place, I think it's a calculated risk as opposed to just, YOLO. There's a lot of good pieces in place around the team to where I think he has a little bit of cushion for margin of error. Whereas previously, I don't think we had that margin of error built into the team. I feel we have that now. So calculated risk, I'm okay with it.
And I know exactly what you're saying because like my response would be, I would say that John Beck was a total gamble just because you had no idea what this dude was going to bring, right? Where Sam Howell, you know that he has the 4-year starting at UNC kind of thing. So this is a completely different circumstance. So is it an almost total gamble? I guess you could say that, but it's kind of a stupid, ridiculous headline. But I'm a half full kind of person. I like to think that way. I like to look at the better side of things. I don't like to be doom and gloom. Obviously, if you follow my Twitter for 5 seconds, you could probably find that out. But I'm glass half full. I would hope that other people out there would consider me the same. What about you, Reed?
When it comes to the Commanders, I'm glass half full. I'm not the dark cloud of Twitter. But when it comes to life, oh mom, am I positive or negative? Lindsay, am I positive or negative? No, for attitude. I'm negative. I'm negative in life, but positive.
I figured so. I wasn't thinking she was going to give you a vote of confidence there.
She said like in AIDS or like in life. I was like,
and tell Lindsay we said thank you for her service as well. Obviously.
They said thank you for your service. She said don't say thank you. I said what? I'm just kidding. We had a big combo about that.
Lindsay's was in the Army as well.
Kyle,
nice.
Kyle, Hall,
Awesome.
and Steve. Steve was in the military too.
What about you, Hall?
Yeah, when it comes to the Commanders,
For your thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
You're
Hi.
welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Back off here. We're not having girl time. Come on. Come on. I know I have tape on it because I broke them and we're poor.
Yeah, when it comes to the Commanders, I'm always glass half full. Like, I don't want to be the negative Nancy's out there. There's always doom and gloom all the time about the team, even though in situations you should be.
You tiptoe it.
I do, but like I'm more at glass half full. Because look, I mean, I try to temper my expectations nowadays. Because every time I get a little bit more than glass half full, I start drinking the Kool-Aid. It ends up just blowing up in my face. So I just try to stay I just try to, like you said, walk the line. Try to walk the line, but for the majority, I'm glass half full. And as far as the headline goes, like you guys said, I would say it's a calculated risk, but I would say it's a calculated risk because of a guy like Eric Bieniemy. When you see a guy like Kyle Shanahan, what he can do, just mold his offense around a guy like Brock Purdy, who was a 7th-round pick. Or Brian Mitchell made a good point about, like, back in the day, Andy Reid had Kyle Cobb, I think it was.
Kevin Cobb. Yeah.
Kevin Cobb, yeah. Kevin Cobb running this
Dude,
offense
you got
like
me
2
on
or
your
2.
mind today, bro.
He was a 2nd-round pick, Kevin Cobb.
Yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day,
so good.
if at the end of the day, like, if Airbnb can just mold the offense around what they do, like, to their strengths, instead of the coordinators have been here over the past and just try to mold the players into the offense instead of around them, I think that will be good.
All right, now let's go to our next question from Tim Towner. Steve, I'm going to have us name one team that we think. I'm not going to answer this one. But his question is, as the NFC East was arguably the best division in the NFC last year, they are bound to take a step backwards in 2023. Which team do you think will end up wiping up the rear?
Wiping up the rear in the NFC East. Man. It's a tough one. The NFC East is competitive again, and it's the easy answer is not the Giants or the Commanders now. So I'd have, man, put me on the spot. I'm going to say here I say I'm glass half full. It's going to say between the Eagles and the Commanders.
Okay.
I can't give you a solid answer. One of us. I'm sorry, the Giants and the Commanders. Sorry,
there you go,
okay.
My man.
Giants and Commanders.
I'm going to take one that's going to make a lot of people mad, and because it's not going to happen. But hey, you see it every year. Somebody goes from first to worst, and Eagles got a lot of expectations. Do they always live up to those expectations? No. You think about the dream team.
Yeah, you call them the Philadelphia Reeds.
Yeah, exactly, because they're just a giant disappointment most of the time. So they are kind of like me, right? Yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna go with the Eagles.
There you go. I like it. For the last team, I think the Eagles is a really good argument to make, because the big question is how much of those coordinators were kind of the influence in making that team great, and I think that could be proven this year. But ultimately, I do think it will be the Giants. I think the Giants are a very good football team. They're well coached, very well formatted. They're brought together very well. I just think that Brian Daboll did really well with what he was given, and I think that being able to replenish what you were given in doing so and still being successful is harder. Like, we saw that kind of with Urban Meyer in a way. All right, now let's go to the next question. This is from...
Damn, man, you let me answer?
All right, what do you want? Who you got?
Nah, I was just going to say the Giants or the Commanders.
There you go, smart. No, don't say the Commanders. Now, Hull.
I don't really think the Eagles are going to finish last, just so that would people don't make fun of me.
They had a really good draft.
It's because Nick Navarro is going to make fun and yell at you. Don't let him yell at you.
Yeah,
now, Hull, this question from Tim Towder. Name one player whose stock is up and why. Then name one player whose stock is down and why.
Stock is up. I'm going to go with my guy, Antonio Gibson. I think that Eric Bieniemy is about to turn him up to the max this year, to the best Antonio Gibson we've seen, just overall and through, and just through, call it 14 of the 17 games, because he's bound to get injured or nicked up a little bit at some point. But I say Antonio Gibson's stock up. Stock down, I will say I'll say Sam Cosmi, just because
that's fair.
He can never stay healthy, and when he is healthy, they got him jumping back and forth between right tackle and right guard. So if he can stay healthy and be consistent, and he's inconsistent when he is in there. So if he can be consistent and stay healthy, then he'll be up. But as of right now, I'll say he's down.
What do you got, Steve?
Stock down, because I end on a positive note like that. Stock down. I'm going to say Fuller. Just because we drafted two really good cornerbacks.
Okay.
Not saying I just think that they're the youth movement moving forward. And stock up, I'm going to say Jamin Davis, because we did nothing to really address the linebacker position, which means to me that they have total faith in Jamin's development going into his third year.
Right.
Okay.
And so since I'm the opposite, I'm going to go stock up. I'm going to say just because I think teams we're really starting to realize how important this guy is, and that's Cam Curl. Just after the last season, what he's been doing, got to go Cam. Shout out Greg. But then for stock down, and look, this is nothing against this guy's play. I think he's going to ball out this year. I just think you haven't heard much about him right now. And that's Brian Robinson. Nobody's talking about Brian Robinson. Nobody brings up Brian Robinson. And I think it's because people think Antonio Gibson fits better. We just drafted what's his face, but they forget, but they're going to remember. Brian Robinson's going to be fantastic this season.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. For me, the stock down, I will say reluctantly, is Charles Leno. Just the way that last season ended, not being here for voluntary. Obviously, we don't know the conversation between EB and Leno. But only reason stock down is him not being there, being a captain, that offensive line, them only working on pass sets. Maybe they're comfortable with Charles as the left tackle with these pass sets. That being said, the stock just being down because he's not being there. Stock up, I think it's fairly easy to say who it is, and it's Sam Howell. Just based on what you're hearing from training camp, how we heard Logan Paulson say that Sam Howell looks comfortable in EB's offense already. We're just talking about the first week of OTAs, and that's not something you would hear from Carson Wentz last season. Learning Scott Turner's offense, which you could say is probably more dumbed down, not as much attention to detail, you could say. He was struggling a little bit. Sam Howell looks comfortable to Logan. Logan's not somebody that's going to blow smoke up our rear end with Sam Howell. He's even said before we need to chill out because he is a fifth-round quarterback. But he said he was legitimately comfortable. The stock is up for Sam Howell right now, and he has the cards in his hands. He can really do some damage here.
But
Now,
I take St. Logie's word on everything unless it comes to tight ends. Logie swore all the tight ends were going to break out last year, and I'm like, St. Logie's, calm down, okay?
Yep. And now this last question, Steve, from Tim. What's your pregame ritual or superstition that you would perform to bring good luck to your football team? Also, is there a specific food/snack beverage that are must-haves?
Nah, well, it depends. If I'm going to the game, it's tailgating, but I'll just say from home, superstition would go for an away game. Just like to throw on some sort of Commander's gear. If they won the last week, I wear the same thing as the previous week. That's my superstition. Go-to food doesn't matter. Try not to do anything too complex on the grill because I want to be watching the game and not cooking. So either something very quick early on, burgers, brats, dogs, or we just order some. So no traditional like must-have foods, but my superstition is the close if we won previously.
I like it. What about you, Hall? You seem like a superstitious fellow.
Nah, not really. Go-to food, always like wings. If I can just get some wings and some ranch, good to go. Nothing else matters. Sorry, superstition. I don't really have a superstition, but one thing I must always do and always have on is my Redskins logo, little like bead chain that I got in New Orleans when I went 2 summers ago. And I always got to have a jersey on, no matter if it's a Washington football team jersey, a Redskins jersey, or a Commanders jersey. Always got to have some type of jersey on, and my Redskins rock my Redskins chain.
All right. Reed, what about you, man?
Usually I'm always just rocking a jersey. Like I said, I kind of do what Steve does. If we won the previous week, then I'm putting on the same one back to back. I always rocking my Commanders socks. I did that last season, even if I don't wash them because who cares? I'm wearing them for 3 hours, so sitting on the couch. But also, and then my other thing is I always sing and listen to do a karaoke version of Baba O'Reilly by The Who. Before each game. I don't do that. That'd be tight though. But eating, it doesn't matter, man. I'm kind of I'm like Steve in this sense too. I would rather not miss the game and be grilling and just order something or have something pre-made.
Yeah, that's shocker to us, Reed, that you would.
Why? Because I eat a lot?
No, just because Kyle? You not wanting to cook for yourself. For my superstition good luck, obviously not it's just my hat. Just wear my hat everywhere. My wife even.
I don't think you've ever taken that off.
I haven't.
That specific hat right there.
That exact hat. Yeah.
My wife asked me. She said, she was like, "Is today going to be the first time you wear that American flag Commander's hat?" I said, "Absolutely not."
Really?
I wear this for every game. I wear these for the shows. This is my favorite hat, obviously. So it's kind of a good luck charm for me. It's gone on some really fun times, challenging times that it's taken with me, and it's always a good luck charm for me. And then with a food/snack. The only reason I don't like wings in this sort of setting is because you want to be able to eat in your living room. And like wings and stuff like that are so messy that you don't want to mess up anything else. So I guess I'll just say pizza. That's it's the go-to,
that's
man.
Easy.
Yeah.
Some good Lido pizza, man. That's all.
So good. Classic. If
Also,
I may, Kyle, one more superstition that I have is kind of funny. If the team is losing, I do really bad. I take off the shirt that I'm supposed to be wearing in hopes that it would reverse the bad fortune. Or if the team scores and my wife or I are in the kitchen or we left the room, you have to stay. until the
right.
fortune is
Yeah.
reserved.
It's funny. It's
reversed.
funny how those work. Yeah. You're like, you got to
Yes.
stay in the room right now. Come on, you got to stay.
Sorry,
Steve,
I had to say
I
it.
actually have one for that too. What I do is I actually turn off the TV and I turn on my Sports Center app. And I go
Okay.
and I have the game on my Sports Center app doing the play-by-play because back in 2012 I was working at Noodles on the Grill in that first game against the Saints. And I remember that came up and they scored 21 points automatically. And I was like, whoa, what is this? This is crazy. And so even with Nats games, when I'm watching on that Sports Center app, for some reason the luck changes. And so for some reason, if we're getting beat, I will switch it. But if it stays bad, I'll go back to watching the game because I watch
Also-
the film afterwards anyway.
Also, little known fact, Kyle always wears that hat because he was born without the top of his skull. Kind of like
Sure.
Joe Dirt, and it just got all infused and entwined. Yeah, it just grew like that. It's part of him now.
It just grew like that. Now, this last question from Twitter is from Scott Hartley, Steve. First, he says, Happy Memorial Day to all my U.S. comrades who served alongside me in the U.K., Afghanistan, and Iraq. I won't forget their sacrifice, per Ardua,
Scott.
through adversity. His question is, Steve, with the possibility of Poplar Point site being talked about, do you see us edging closer to getting back to D.C.?
First off, Scott, thank you for your service. Good friend of mine. We caught up when he first came to the country week 1 of last year. So,
He's a great man, dude.
yeah,
Scott's
awesome.
the best.
I just don't know where it would be in DC. I just don't think there's land for it if it's not RFK. So I think it's going to be somewhere in Maryland.
Yeah,
honestly,
I see
National
what Scott,
Harbor. Let's go.
I see what Scott's saying because people are saying that the Poplar Point site, when DC came out and said that this is a possible place that they want to like obviously use, people automatically assume that's where the stadium would go. So that's where like Scott's question is coming. Like based on them introducing that Poplar Point site, do you think that this is edging them more towards DC? And I think the focus has always been on DC. I think DC knows what the possibilities of what they have there. It's just DC likes to make everything hard. Nothing else you can make about it. I mean, it's a really difficult process. But like Steve has said, if we're going to keep it in Maryland, there's only one site in Maryland that you can really, truly feel comfortable with that, and that's the National Harbor. We talked about having boats, yachts come up, kind of party, tailgate and stuff. That would just be, look, I don't have a boat, but I'll tell you right now, if they were to have a stadium on the National Harbor, I'd be befriending somebody who does. All right? But hey, let's go to a football game.
There's a former owner that I know that has a yacht that you could use.
Probably in the south of
nice
France
guy.
right now.
Yeah, not here. That's for goddamn sure.
See, we laugh
He's
about
hiding.
that, but then the yacht is parked right behind Reed's house. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
Dan Snyder's kind of like Bin Laden in a way, if you think about it. Nobody really knows where he is, but we just know we got to get him. We're gonna send him. Steal Team 6. Go in.
Goodell will come out the team when the day team, so we got him.
Yeah, he's got him. He's gonna pull a John Cena sitting on top of the cage and be like, "Today, we got Osama bin Laden. We got Daniel Snyder.
We got him." All right, boys. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. Steve, I can't thank you enough, man. This was a fun episode, a special episode. Glad that we were able to experience it with you. Obviously, before we get out of here, we'd just like to plug your social media handle just in case anybody watching hasn't followed you yet and would like to, but we know that they don't exist. But you also have your own podcast, the Command This Podcast. So if you can just supply where they can find your podcast.
Yeah. Hit us up on YouTube or any of your audio platforms. Just search for Command This Podcast. We're out there. My Twitter handle is at Steve Lim _DC. Always love to interact and engage. Positive vibes only, please.
Positive vibes only.
Speaking of positive vibes, that is honestly my favorite background. Sorry, Kyle. Steve's got my favorite background now.
It's a great background, dude.
It's such
Black
a good
flag.
background.
Black
I know, but
flag.
it's so good. The way
No,
you have
that
it
is
set up, the
crisp.
lighting
That
for it,
is
it's
clean.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Looks
not,
nice.
not worried about it. How dare you hurt my feelings? All right, everybody.
Yeah,
That's going to
you're
wrap
not
us up
worried
for this
about it. You just
episode.
commented on it.
We'll see you
He'll
guys
have,
again.
he'll have a new background next week. Watch.
Yeah,
well.
he's gonna have a black flag. Yeah.
You're just going to see like dried teardrops all over it while I'm taking it down. All right, everybody. We'll see you again on Thursday. Can't thank you enough. You made it this far. You are a champion. Thank you to the Colonel, to HurQlez, to you, Steve, for being able to come on here and talk some Commanders football with us. It really was a pleasure. All right, everybody. We'll see you on Thursday. I'm Kyle.
I'm not looking forward to story time. I hate this time of year.
I love this time of year. This is my favorite. That's my favorite time of year. And I am former NFL scout. What's his name? What was his name?
Mark
Funny
Neville.
guy. Oh no, God no.
Oh, Daniel Kelly.
Daniel
Yes.
Kelly. Yeah, I'm former
Wrote a
NFL
book.
scout Daniel Kelly. I
I
wrote a
haven't seen
book.
that guy on Facebook and Twitter in a while.
He changed
Yeah,
his
you
name,
probably
dude.
got blocked for being a hater.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, did he change his name? What is
Yeah.
he? Danica Kelly
You
now?
guys gotta
Did he
pay
go
more
full T? He's a
No,
full T
he
now?
just started a new
Oh.
account. He's been tweeting it from it because people are picking up on him, and so he's
He's either the
changing
most
it.
intricate troll of all
Yeah, he
time
really is.
or the dumbest person of all time.
Yeah, he is.
I haven't
All right.
decided which.
Poor Daniel Kelly. Leave the guy alone. All right?
He's a nice guy. No, he's a nice
he
guy.
makes
We've had him on.
life
He's a
hard
nice
on
guy.
himself as it is. Okay, don't need to pile on him. All right,
He
all right,
raps.
everybody. We'll see you on Thursday. All right,
He
Washington.
wears an Aaron Hernandez jersey.
All right, everybody. We'll see you on Thursday. All right, Washington football. Woo! Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched theburgundyzone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!